Hello, this is the 47th issue of Catch of the Day, available on the Branch Talk YouTube channel. And today we're going to continue with the reading of Trent Wildy's book, A Change in the Priesthood, A Change in the Law. Midway, page 21, he says, "Here Paul pictures himself as a priest. One might ask, after what order? Certainly it could not have been after the Aaronic order, for he was not a son of Aaron, but rather he was from the tribe of Benjamin." Philippians 3 verse 5. Moreover, he was not just a priest in the general sense that all Israelites were called to be priests. Exodus 19 verse 6. For he speaks of himself as offering sacrifices, which was beyond the scope of the general priestly role of the kingdom of Israel. Paul was not appointed to priesthood because of lineage. Instead, he was appointed through the grace of God by the power of everlasting life. Thus he was a priest after Christ's likeness and in connection with Christ. Since Christ is high priest after the order of Melchizedek, then that is the only priesthood in which Paul could have participated by cooperating with Christ in priestly activity. Page 22. Remember, if Paul was under the Levitical order, he would be asking the death sentence upon himself by proclaiming or claiming to be a priest. But Paul was not under the Levitical priesthood. He was in the antitypical priesthood, the priesthood after the order of Melchizedek. Instead of offering priestly rites of grain, drink, or animals, he offered the Gentiles as living sacrifices. Thus he said, "Therefore I exhort you, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a sacrifice, alive, holy, and pleasing to God, which is your reasonable service." Romans 12 verse 1. In the Levitical priesthood, this language would be nonsensical and could even imply human sacrifice, a thing forbidden by the law. In the antitypical system, however, the sacrifice is not a death to the body, but a death to the carnal mind. Romans 6 to 8. And thus we, as humans, are to be sacrifices. Paul was not the only one among the Nazarenes to refer to these clearly non-Levitical sacrifices. Peter likewise exhorted, "You yourselves, as living stones, are built up as a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood and to offer spiritual sacrifices that are acceptable to God through Jesus Christ." 1 Peter 2 verse 5. Likewise, the author of Hebrews says, "Through him then, let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God, that is, the fruit of our lips, acknowledging his name. And do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for God is pleased with such sacrifices." Hebrews 13, 15 to 16. All this language is that of sacrifice and priesthood, and yet no one can deny that it is being used in a way which is clearly different from the Aaronic order. Yes, these sacrifices are those foreshadowed by the Levitical types, but they are not the same sacrifices. Let us look at a few more examples. "For I am already being poured out as an offering, and the time for me to depart is at hand." 2 Timothy 4 verse 6. Footnote at the bottom of page 22. Footnote number 24. See Leviticus 18 verse 21, 20 verse 2 to 5, Deuteronomy 12 31, and 18 verse 10. Page number 23. But even if I am being poured out like a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice together with all of you. Philippians 2 verse 17. Paul's experience, as described in the above verses, was in the antitypical service. What the drink offerings were in the typical service. Again, I have great joy in the Lord, because now at last you have again expressed your concern for me. Now I know you were concerned before, but had no opportunity to do anything. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content in any circumstance. I have experienced times of need and times of abundance. In any and every circumstance I have learned the secret of contentment. Whether I go satisfied or hungry, have plenty or nothing, I am able to do all things through the one who strengthens me. Nevertheless, you did well to share in my trouble. And as you Philippians know, at the beginning of my gospel ministry, when I left Macedonia, no church shared with me in this matter of giving and receiving except you alone. For even in Thessalonica, on more than one occasion you sent something for my need. I do not say this because I am seeking a gift. Rather, I seek the credit that abounds to your account. For I have received everything, and I have plenty. I have all I need, because I received from Epaphroditus what you sent, a fragrant offering, an acceptable sacrifice, very pleasing to God. Philippians 4, verse 10 to 18. The material gift, whether financial or some other means of subsistence, sent to Paul by the Philippians, was a fragrant offering and an acceptable sacrifice. Does this say there is no sacrifice? To the contrary, it says there is. Is this an acceptable sacrifice in the Levitical order? No. Yet it is an acceptable sacrifice in the system in which Paul operated. Paul speaks of the same idea elsewhere. Don't you know that those who serve in the temple eat food from the temple, and those who serve at the altar receive a part of the offerings? In the same way, the Lord commanded those who proclaim the gospel to receive their living by the gospel. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 13. Check all that out. Take care.